Okay, so I wanted to just talk about something that is really living close to the bone, and speaking my truth and my experience. So I entered onto the feta scene. Pre-warning, there's going to be all sorts of triggers and shit in here for you guys and girls, so please, do what is necessary. If you need to, press stop, press pause, don't watch it. If you want to know more about my personal experience and things being on the fetish scene, the kink scene since 2014, please, stay tuned. So what this brought it up was someone was asking about, I really want to surrender and experience that thing where you can really surrender into another soul. And that would be absolutely fucking awesome, and it is fucking awesome when it happens, when you get two people with that chemistry. But I started off on the wrong foot. I didn't really know what I was after. I knew I wanted to surrender. I thought I had an idea about consent and boundaries. I fucking didn't. I had this idea in my head that when you sit down and you talk about things with someone and then you decide that you have, you mutually consent to things and you've got things in common, you find each other attractive, boom, there you go. Like, well, hey, and you kind of just dive in there and you say to the other guy or girl, I would like to take, this role in a relationship with you, and it's agreed whether they want to do that or not. You can be, there's so many variations, we'll not go into that now, but you basically start off with a chat, and then you move forward from there. Back then I didn't know about the responsibility involved, and there is one hell of a responsibility for both the sub and for the dom. It doesn't matter what role you're in. When you're in anything that's in the fet scene or kinky, then your responsibility is not just to yourself, but it's to your play partner or partners, whether you're monogamous or not, whether you're in a poly. And what matters is that you are taking full responsibility for your health and your well-being. So this is the first thing, like number one, what you really, really must do, and that's get a sexual health check. Some of you may be carrying something that you don't know. You want to make sure you're clear, you're clean, and your partner is too. And that's a really good place to begin before you even start looking for partners. You ought to be looking at how do you take responsibility for your own self-care? What are you looking to gain from another person? What are the reasons for it? What is your truth? Because it's very well and good looking for something from someone else and maybe wanting to surrender, but surrender comes at a price. Everything comes at a price. Domination, like dominating another person, comes at the price of taking responsibility for you both your health. Being a sub, you're taking responsibility for your own health and what you pass over, what power you give away, you choose to give away, and responsibility is really important. So taking responsibility for what you want, what you want to give, what you want to share, what you want to, what your intention is moving forward, what you'd like long term to have out of this relationship. What's your bigger picture? What's your vision? What is it you're really feeling into in that moment, or in many moments? Because this isn't something you decide over a cup of tea in the morning. This is a massive thing that affects you on so many levels. It's taken me a journey of self-discovery, and I have had suicidal lows, and I've had phenomenal highs where I've been like a fucking human firework and bouncing about for days on end in some form of subspace. So what matters is you take responsibility, and you're willing to take responsibility, and you start with you. So you look at what you want to gain longer term, what you're willing to do, and you're making sure that your health is your responsibility. You can't assume anything. Nothing can be assumed in a DS relationship, because what happens when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. So you're making an ass of them. You can't assume someone's not done their, you can't assume they have done a sexual health check. You can't assume they're going to take responsibility. You don't assume that they know all about sub-drop. You don't assume they know about dom-drop. You don't assume that because they've been at this for a while or whatever it is that they say, that they're even telling the truth. Maybe they have. I know people that have been on the scene for a long time, and they've hardly done anything in that period of time, and they still award themselves the name, the title, Dom. So it's their truth, so it's real and true to them, but when you look at actual truth, it's not the real truth. So you could end up really disappointed. So you want to know whether you want a long-term relationship, whether it's something you just want to play, do you just want a play partner? Are you willing to consider other people? How are you going to manage that? It's a massive thing when you're you're thinking, oh yeah, poly's okay for me, and then you have a high or a low, and boom, that catches you out again. So really, really feel into what it is you need and what you're willing to put yourself through, and think, if this is what I'm feeling now when I'm saying, times that by 10 or 100 for what will happen when you're in subspace or in that space that you get as a dom, and you're all powerful and you've took the lead. Now, I want to mention energies here, and we have wounded masculine and wounded feminine in all of us. It doesn't matter whether we're male or female. We have those wounded energies, and we also have the divine energies. So we all have that potential when we're in balance to come out on top, to be buzzing, to be amazing, to be able to lead, guide, keep safe, provide the safe container, and really take care of those in our care, or really submit and really flow with what's happening, really co-create with our partners in these circumstances. It's fucking awesome when the magic's right. And as well, regards the magic, usually at first it is all fucking magic, and then you wake up in your cornflakes one day because they haven't replied, or they haven't messaged back, or they've said something and then they've gone against it, or they've made some form of they've touched you in some way which wasn't consensual, that you'd previously agreed not to, but during that scene when you were in a state of pleasure, so you're in the subspace, they're then taking advantage, but you don't know that, and you're just like flowing with it. But then as you start coming round from that, you're like, hold on a minute, what happened? I'm sure that we didn't agree to that shit in the first place. So it's really important that we look at consent and boundaries, and we want to look at really what is consensual. We want to explore everything, including consensual non-consent. You want to look at slavery. You want to look at people's experiences and what they've had with another person. And I don't want you to be overwhelmed, but this is real shit. Like, this is what we really have to look at. So we need to bring ourselves back to centre and just go, okay, so what can I do here to stay safe? How can I make sure this is consensual? How can I make sure I choose someone responsible? And on the internet, you've got like Collar Space and FetLife, and there's a few others, but they're the two main ones that cover globally. And you'll find that these people are keyboard warriors. Yep, keyboard warriors. So they all think they're doms or they think they're subs, and they all want to do all sorts and share dick pics and tit pics and all sorts of things with you. And what will it get you? It'll get them a big hard on, or get them to, you know, sort themselves out, but it won't get you, even if you mutually masturbate, it's not going to take you both to the levels that you'll get in an intimate relationship. So again, make sure you're both consenting, be clear if you do or don't want that kind of picture, those kind of things, and who gets a hold of them if they go on one and send them out across the internet. You've got to be really careful. You've got to be really careful of your identity, because, you know, fat life and kink and stuff is not for everyone. It's not accepted. There's lots of people against it. So when you do these things, you need a suitable name for when you're on the forums. You've got to be really careful who you give your name to, because there's a lot of people out there who need to protect their own identities. So you've got to be really careful with taking pictures and videos and things like that, if that's your thing. And you want to be careful how this ripples out. Everything has a cost. Everything has a karma. Every action has a reaction. Everything can ripple out. So you've got to be really mindful about trust, who's trustworthy. The best thing I can recommend, the best advice I ever had regards being on the scene, is go to a munch. Munch is kind of a global term where you go and meet other people in your area who are kinksters. And don't worry, you don't turn up and talk about like, oh, hello, I'm a kinkster, this is my fetish. No, you go to a munch and you just have cups of tea or glasses of Coke or a beer, and you get to know each other soul to soul or being to being. Hiya, what do you do? Where do you work? Where do you live? Sometimes it gets into the kinky stuff, but you get to really know other people. You get to know about other people's reputations, and it's a really good way to get into the community. It teaches you about different workshops that get put on locally, different events that are going on locally. Now, like a normal event, you go to an event, you meet someone, have a beer, have a chat, whatever. It's pretty much the same. You can go to dungeon clubs and other events where you learn about consent, you learn about boundaries, you learn about how to play safely, you learn about other people, you're connecting with other people, you're trying out new kinks and stuff in a safe, managed way, in a safe space. That safe container is so important. And you learn about things like RAC, which is risk assessed consensual kink, is RAC. It's really important to look at what you're doing, work out where the dangers are, how to stay safe and how to move forward. It's important to choose the correct partners. It's important to work out who's real, who's not real. It's important to find people with the correct experience. And the next thing I need to talk about is open, honest, like communication. If someone can't meet you at a munch and talk openly and honestly and communicate correctly with you so that you're both understanding what's going on, you're really not wanting to have them in the bedroom. So whenever you're in a relationship, there's things that go unsaid and stuff like that. Well, it's no different in a kink relationship. And it's so important that in that kinky relationship, which goes so much deeper than any other relationship will ever take you, that you can be honest with each other, that you can be open about your needs, that you can, you know, really be true about what's going on in your head and what's going on in your body and how to react in each moment or to a scene, or whether you like something or don't like something, whether you consent to that or not consent to that. You really need to have open, honest and responsible conversations about what you want to do, how you want to do it and which way you want to go. And these things are so important. So when you have someone who can't tell the truth in over a cup of tea, or what they've done that afternoon, or whatever, you're going to be fucking kidding yourself, right? If you think that that person is going to show up for you in a DS space. Everyone's got the fantasies, and there is nothing wrong with fantasies at all. But as soon as you fuck up with your honesty and your openness, then those people who trusted you, that trust is gone. And the damage you can do when you destroy someone's trust like that, it lasts years. And the impacts of what you do with that person will last years too. Like, I consented to orgasm training, not really knowing what it was, many years ago. I still now have to ask for permission to come. That is something that I have to do. It's part of something why I'm very, very fucking careful who I let in. And it's a hard thing, because then you no longer have that power over yourself to give yourself permission to come, which means you can't play with yourself and actually get off, you know. So it kind of really destroys that piece of you. It's giving away your power, and that's my work to do. But it's also pointing out that in that moment, or in the moments and the excitement and the pleasure of being there and being with a responsible dom who you think's right, who's been on the scene years, and they do something and you agree to it, it lasts. These things last. I have memories coming back of times when we'd agreed things and we'd pre-agreed, discussed a play scene, and then we'd put all the stuff out and everything was fine, and then that person did an action with the toys that I'd not given permission. That was one of the do not do things that they wanted to do anyway, because I was in that pure pleasure, you know. I've enjoyed so much pain that I've passed out through being whipped. I've just really fucking been able to let myself go, and surrender, and I don't regret any of it. But I sure as shit could have done it better. I sure as shit could have been more responsible of myself and my own. And it's been a lesson, many massive lessons that come one after another. They've resulted in months of crying my eyes out, lots of broken hearts, because you don't just feel into these relationships, you give your fucking self. You are surrendering yourself, body, mind and soul into the care of another person as a sub. And this is back to the divine masculine and wounded masculine, and the divine feminine and wounded feminine. When you're not in balance, or the person you're giving yourself to is not in balance there, then as the feminine, the divine feminine, when you give yourself over and they don't fucking step up, it breaks your fucking heart. And it doesn't just break your heart a little bit, it shatters your heart into 1,000 million trillion fucking pieces. And it feels like you're dying. And in some ways, part of you does die. And it takes a hell of a lot of work to get that self back, you know, and find that libido again, and find the courage to trust and to love, and to go somewhere again, and to meet someone, because that's the next part of your journey, to allow someone in like that and to explore that next bit. So when you've got someone who claims to be a dom, which you want to ask them, what kind of a dom are you? Are you a dom that maybe is a dom just in the bedroom? Are you a switch? Do you go between sub? You know, are you submissive and then dominant in life? And, you know, you want to feel into that, and you want to make sure that that dynamic, whatever their dynamic is, matches your dynamic. Because when you have someone who's submissive, and I had this in my last relationship, he was so submissive in life. He didn't dominate me unless it was the bedroom, and he lied and he manipulated things, and he gave me the opinions that you know, I believed. I gave him my everything, and I wanted to live for him and worship him. But he wasn't able to hold that space for me. He wasn't able to listen, to hear. He wasn't able to embrace me fully in my wholeness. He wasn't allowed to make that space and hold that space so I could really flow in my divineness and be how I wanted to be. And it's when the right mixture's there, when the right dynamic's there between you and them, then there is magic beyond magic. There is a whole beautiful explosion of love, sex, power, passion, being held, holding, and surrendering into one another's truth in a really comfortable way, where it's like your whole fucking world's illuminated. It's so beautiful. But remember that if you've not set up so that this person isn't honest with you, they keep you hanging, they don't answer your messages, they hide shit from you, they stop you being you, they don't fully listen, they don't fully understand, they don't hear. When you're asking for things, they're not confirming they've heard it, and you want to really ask yourself and feel into, is this right for me right now? Should I really be in this fucking relationship with this person who is stating that they're meeting my needs, but they're not really going to meet my needs? And try not to get caught up in that magic, because that beautiful magic that happens when you come together as souls and you're making love and you're playing and you're surrendering to the other, and you just, God, it's so powerful. It really is so overwhelming, so enveloping, so powerful, so passionate, just amazing. My previous partner, I call him kind of a dom, but he wasn't really. But he was the best sexual partner I had. And he said I was the best sexual partner he had, but we genuinely meant it. But the communication wasn't there, and I refused to. I said, look, he'd bought me all these things, and I got these things, and I put them in the fire, and I set the fuckers on fire. And I said to him, look, you have all this surrendering, all these promises that you made, you've not followed through. They were your truth when you said it. They're not your truth now, and I've fucking waited all this time for you to show up. So they've gone in the fire, and that is it. DS is over. We are now having a vanilla relationship. And on occasion, I'd submit and we'd get toys out or whatever. But that trust had been broken, destroyed, gone. And it never came back. And I said, can we work on the communication? And I left him and I said, right, I'm going. And we were like, we really miss each other. And I was like, well, let's give it a go and try and build up that communication, because I miss that mad passionate sex, that love making, that being dominated and all that lot. Never ever came back, because we were not able to communicate. And I tried so many things to, as you do, you go above and beyond, because your heart is so into this person, so wanting to please and so wanting to be a better person than yourself. You drop into communication lessons, you learn about deep listening, you practice non-violent communication, you go to all these workshops, you study online, you read up stuff. And I was doing all this, and he wasn't doing that. And I was like trying these things, and he still wasn't communicating. And I knew that it was time to end it, because I waited. I spent 2 months sitting there, and he'd come round to my house, and he'd clean my house for me, and he'd take my dogs for a walk, and he'd make food for me, and then he'd sit down and put a movie on, and he'd sit on his side of the sofa, and I'd just sit there and ask for a cuddle and get nothing. And the thing was, he was doing everything from his own perspective, not listening to me, not trying to do anything not saying, what would you like, or can we talk about this? When you say, can we talk? And that was what we had for 6 months or so. And it started off like magic, where I gave up my house and I moved in his van, and we toured like most of, Scotland and Wales and UK and France and Spain, and moved to Portugal. So please, I've only given you a bare minimum of stuff, and I'm kind of emptying a lot of stuff to share it with you. Please look at what's safe, what's sane and consensual. Look at your boundaries, look at consent, look at what you want to achieve from this. Be so fucking clear in what you're asking for, and state what you want to receive from that. Go online, look up Betty Martin's Circle of Consent. Find on FetLife, there'll be loads of different things. I'm not sure of the link, but there's a link somewhere where you can go and you can find out and explore all your different kinks. And then you can find someone else who's got similar kinks to you. Check out your local munchers, connect with people, find other people that you can talk to where it's safe and non-judgmental, and stay fucking safe. Keep yourself safe. Don't fall for any bullshit. Take them blinders off and really feel into what's right. Listen to your intuition and let it guide you. Not your head. If you need to, have a bit of a family meeting between your genitals, your stomach, your heart and your mind, and let your mind, your inner mind, your third eye, if you like, be the chairman of the meeting. So listen to what your pussy or your cock says first, and then after that's spoken in the meeting, go up to the stomach. How are you feeling into this? What does the stomach want to tell you? Move on up to your heart. Okay, what is my heart saying? What would you love? What would you desire? What really wouldn't you? In those moments, what is it trying to say? And then take your head and bring it all into one, and your head will rule. And until you're in alignment, don't go there. Don't just rush in. Don't put yourself in any danger. Don't fall for any bullshit. Even as a dom, don't fall for any bullshit from any subs. And if you're new at this, say so. I'm new at this. This is what I'd like to explore. Many of the most responsible doms that I have met have gone to workshops and found shit out for themselves. They've explored things themselves. They've learnt about stuff. And unfortunately, my ex, the only thing he ever tried to do more of was be a dom. But he lived in his weak masculine and his wounded feminine. And to be a divine masculine, he needed to be able to work on himself, and he wasn't. So if someone isn't able to work on themselves at a decent level, they ain't suitable for being a dom. They ain't suitable for being a sub. Being a sub is not an answer. You can't just submit to someone and fucking be magically healed. There's no fucking magic one. Yeah, it takes you to new places, but unless you're dom, you've got a kink-aware therapist, or your dom's psychosexual therapist or something like that, unless they've got that level of training and awareness and things and that compassion, don't fucking go there. because all it does is mess your head up and mix yourself up. And like, I don't regret one bit of my journey, and I have a place in my heart for all my doms and all those people that have been part of my journey, fetish journey. I fucking love them. And I'm so grateful for everything that I've learned about the consent, about the boundaries, about speaking your truth, about honouring your truth, about listening to your body, about true surrender, about true dominance, about true divine masculine, about true divine feminine, about real fucking feminine, divine feminine, surrendering to that divine masculine. All that is so fucking amazing, and I'm so grateful that I've experienced these bits and pieces. But I have been wounded along the way, and it is, you know, it does hurt, and it does take you to new levels of growth. But some of it, if you learn more and you explore more and you feel into things more, it's not going to be as fucking painful. So I fully recommend munchers. I fully recommend exploring kink and that kind of thing. And I fully recommend honouring your truth. I think that, just before I go, I did mention something about subspace. I'm just going to quickly explain it. When you've been playing and you're in that surrender, you're in this state of mind where you're like, fucking hell, it doesn't matter, the world could explode around you, and you'd be like, fucking hell, isn't this wonderful? Man, this is awesome. So that's the kind of where you get to with subspace. But after you've been in subspace, and sometimes you're not even really aware you're in subspace, you can subdrop or you can dom drop. And when you're in that place where the world does feel like it's crumbling around you, and the world does feel scary, and your moods and your hormones and your body chemistry is going all over the place. There's highs, there's lows, there's like you la 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 1 minute, the next minute you go, fuck me, no. It's just too much fucking pain, it's too hard, it's too painful, I don't know, I just can't do this anymore, I just want to die. And that's the truth of it. So be aware, like, you won't, in that place of sub-drop or dom-drop, you don't feel worthy, you don't feel enough, you feel like you could have done something better, or you didn't do something enough, or if you had done such a thing, then it might have been better. And you beat yourself up. Self-blame, self-criticism. You really need to make sure you've got someone else there with you or on the end of the phone, something set up in place to help you through those times. And you can have a kit. It's a bit like a grab bag for a BDSM grab bag, if you like, or kinky bag. But for me, I have my teddy, my blanket and chocolate, and then I have like feel-good films on my watch list. I have feel-good music on my saved list on like YouTube. I have hot chocolate in, squirty cream. How can I embrace my vulnerable self? How can I love my vulnerable self through this? You know, and sometimes like the dom or the sub can be there to support you through. So your, you know, consensual partner can be there to really hold you in those times, and it can be for like a week after. You know, it's not just on the day, not just in a play date. And the harder you play, the harder the highs, the higher the highs are, the harder the falls are. So remember that this is like, what's the cost? What's the karma? So start small. Don't just, hell to leather. So start small. Just feel into things. Just flow with that and just try it. And then watch the mood swings. Watch as things play out. Feel how things play out. And get used to working with one another to really show up for each other, to be able to be there. I've rarely found someone who could always be there for me in those times, because it's easy to drop into that time of forgetting and not knowing, and at that point you you're that busy with your own shit that you completely forget that other person needs your support. So do what you need to do, feel into what you need to feel, love yourself into being, and stay safe out there. So I hope that I have helped you all in some way. I hope you've got something out of this. I've got a lot out of recording this. I'll decide where I'm going to share this, but it's definitely going in group. I just want to send out so much love to you all, so much passion, because if you lot, any of you are thinking of going into this, don't be put off, but stay safe, stay responsible, and be really mindful as you do it, and make sure you make connections, safe, sane connections with other people through munchers, through a community, so that you know you've always got someone there that you can talk to, that you can trust, that understands you fully. So be careful of language barriers and things like that, that can really, you know, if you can't communicate in your own language, go get yourself a communication class. You know, don't be putting yourself in positions where you're going to do more damage. So because that damage, you just hurt yourself more. Okay, well, I love you so much, and thank you for staying with me during this time, and have fun, folks.